You know, sound is an interesting deal. For years I was a believer in sound mainly for topwater lures, constantly tweaking, looking for the new type of bait, playing with the blade to get a different pop-plop or pop-pop or tweet-tweet or whatever it is you might get out of it. But one of the most successful baits over the years and most efficient baits are inline spinners. I'm thinking different sounds there as well. And some things that I started doing 3 years ago is just trying different size blades of the same type of blade. In recent years, this has become real popular. But if sound is a big factor, how am I making a different noise, a different vibration, possibly a little bit of a different profile as well? The reason I'm talking about it on this trip, I think we're getting some strikes because of it. I'm almost positive because there's a lot of follows being had by people, very little actual strikes out on the retrieve. We've actually had 3 strikes on bucktails where they bit it out there just like they're supposed to. And just one other thing that we've done is actually toyed with different blade types on the same inline spinner. Again, you got to be getting a different sound there, so it's kind of interesting to play around with. Anytime, especially with these educated pressured fish, if you can show them something different, which could be different sound, that's the way to go.
We've heard a lot from Pete and Seth over the last few days, under the spotlight as father and son. But Tex Maina has a never-heard-before story about his son Pete and the origins of how he came to be a professional muskie guide.
Pete was a young fella. I had him working in the woods one winter. He was probably a winter I shouldn't have had him working in the woods. It's pretty dangerous. But in any event, he fell a tree and was too tired to run away from it. The tree kind of fell and hit another tree, and the butt came up like that and caught him under the chin. And I actually seen his feet come right out of the snow. I could see below his feet. And he got out of that and shook his head, and you could see the stars rolling around. And he looked up and he said that was the end of his. He was going to be a muskie guide. It was the end of his working in the woods.
That is a big northern there.
Yes.
Boy, that was quite a strike.
Boy,
that thing.
That is a dandy.
He just peeled mine. Talk about fortunes changing in a hurry. It was one of those deals where we're almost in a mode like you're just doing it and talking. Next thing you know, the water blows up. Got a real nice northern pike here, kind of a surprise, but it's got a hook. You'll probably see it here that I don't even know how it happens, but the shaft gets in and 2 different hook points are coming out in different directions. In order to get this out the normal way, you'd probably completely disfigure this fish. It's one of the examples of when I use a hook cutter and I just get in and start cutting hooks. Boy, this is a big old pike here. I do not mind when these bite when you're muskie fishing. That is a beautiful fish. One thing about pike, they hit with speed. I mean, that thing was an unbelievable strike. And literally before I could do anything with my drag, it was peeling in the opposite direction. But I literally saved the jaw, the corner of the jaw on that fish by cutting hooks. I often tell people one of the most important things you can do to catch more and bigger fish is get good at releasing them. This particular trip, we've had fish hooked in fashions and situations where the release tools have been extremely important. But before you worry about lures and boats and graphs and this, that, and the other, this stuff here is what you really need to worry about. You shouldn't go muskie or pike fishing without the proper tools. They include long nose pliers, quality hook cutters that'll cut any hook, whether it's the shank or the main barbs, up to 7 or 8/0. And then the other tools you should have is jaw spreaders, split ring pliers to use after you cut a hook off, and you can replace them very quickly. With regard to when to use the cutters, anytime the hook is near eyes, in the gill area, or just in a place where it's hooked really badly, you might disfigure the fish. Just cut those hooks. People ask, where do you cut them? Anywhere. Just cut, 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 cut. The little pieces will fall out. Now, the other thing that's interesting is just for holding fish, these gloves are kind of handy because there's gill rakers or little teeth on the back of the gill arches. If you happen to have a gill hold and that fish will thrash, you can get cut a little bit. And then, if you got a great big fish that's fairly deeply hooked, a welding glove like this, I actually put some extra rubber on here on the thumb. I'll put this glove on and I'll go after that fish and grab it by the jaw. And muskies will usually open their mouth wide open. Then I'm able to get inside that mouth, use the bolt cutters, use the pliers, whatever it might be on a great big fish, safely get that out. I don't have to worry about getting cut. Successful catch and release means the fish lives.
topics, leading information, and tackle techniques to make you a better angler. Presented by Mercury.
So last year I was lucky enough to fish the new XI5 trolling motor. Really impressed with how durable the engine was. The bracketing, the motor itself, everything about it held up great, and I put it through some pretty tough conditions. Second thing is that I think the trolling motor actually changed the way that I fish, especially with that anchor. Anchor is a function where you can hold right on a spot. I even won a tournament up in Escanaba being able to hold my boat right in a spot and cast to specific fish. So now there's a new function called the gateway. Gateway is basically a way to hit your HTS units up to the XI5 trolling motor. Just a cord that hooks up the XI5 to your NMEA network. Anything like this unit that's on that network can control it. So the first thing you're going to want to do after you get this all hooked up is configure your unit here so that you can get to the functions. And that's pretty simple. You just go to Pages, you're going to add a new panel here. And what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to just drag down, I'm going to put a chart on this, and then here's these autopilot or gateway functions. I'm going to put that on that, and then I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to select it. So basically what I have is my regular graph over here, and then I have the functions of the gateway over here. So for example, right now I'm in anchor mode. The first nice thing is that you get a status bar on your HTS unit telling you what the XI5 is doing. So in this case, it's in anchor mode. But the other nice thing is that you can get to all the functions. So for example, if I go into standby here, take it out of anchor mode, I've got anchor, heading lock, record a trail, navigate. My favorite one again to use is the anchor, so I'll show you how that works. Now the cool thing is that you can anchor more than one way. On this key fob, when you hit the anchor button there, it's going to anchor you right in the spot. With the gateway, you can anchor here, you can anchor at a waypoint. If you've got a waypoint saved on your unit and you want to go right to it and anchor to it, or you can move your cursor around on your graph and tell it to go right to the cursor. It will then take off and go towards that cursor and anchor up on that spot. So you have more functionality in the gateway. So the XI5 is a great motor for helping you control your boat. With the new gateway, you can get to the functionality and get status right on your HDS units to make it even more usable.